Hi everyone, welcome back to the Zicast. I'm your host Ryan Ziaks, and today I'm joined by the president of Quinnipiac University, Hardin.
Hey Ryan, I'm very happy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you today, and I'd like to shout out technical directors Patrick Sorbero and Tyler Mignault for helping out today. So President Hardin, on my show I interview people, I get to know them better, and I'm very excited to learn more about you. So how about you kick things off by telling us a bit about yourself?
I identify as a proud Texan. I think a lot of people know that. I was at another institution here in the Northeast, Penn State, for 22 years, a long time before coming here. I absolutely love it here. It has exceeded my hopes and expectations from day one. So those are three things that I want to tell you right off the bat.
So how about I ask you, what really first inspired you to pursue a career in higher education leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started as a journalist. I wanted to be a journalist, and went to college and then was a journalist for a while. And I decided at some point that one of my formative experiences in college was working for my college newspaper. And I thought, I want to sort of pay it forward and be an incredible advisor to a college newspaper. And I did some research, and I figured out that you got to have at least a master's degree to do that. So I thought, well, I guess I better start working on my master's degree. So I went to Georgia State University and started taking night classes. And the very first night, my very first master's class, the professor walks in, and I looked at her, and I thought, now that's a cool job. Maybe I should aspire for that. And I figured out, I got to have a PhD for that. So I got the master's, and I became the advisor to the Georgia State Signal in the process, because I really did want to be a student newspaper advisor. I love collegiate journalism. But then I got the PhD, and I became a professor. And I would tell you, the higher ed administration, I would have to tell you, I kind of fell into that, Ryan. It wasn't something intentional that I wanted to do. When I got to Penn State, the day after I got tenure, my dean, he left a little note on my chair that said, "Please come see me." And I thought, I'm in trouble. Walked down the hall, and he says, "Now that you have tenure, I want you to start doing administrative things in the college." And I thought, okay, time for a new challenge. I'd just gotten tenure. So that's what set me off on the path. And I told him that I only wanted to do it if he would personally mentor me. And because I really if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it well. And he agreed to mentor me. And was a fabulous mentor. And then he would come in my office and say, "There's this other thing now I want you to do. Here's another responsibility." And I just did it, And then at some point at Penn State, as dean, I had a wonderful run as dean, but I sort of did all the big things as a dean that are sort of the dream things for a dean to do. And so at some point I thought, I'm really ready for the next challenge, but it's got to be at the right institution. It's got to be at the right institution. And Quinnipiac is exactly that. And being the president here is a dream job.
Yeah, and I think some of the best things in life happen when you're not planning for them, when you
go.
allow. So I remember you described higher education as kind of like a windy river when you're on the Who Are You podcast. I feel like you really kind of rode that river to all these different institutions. And I feel like that's really helpful, as well as getting a gist of different places and learning from different types of leadership. And I'm curious, kind of looking back, if there were any specific pivotal moments or people or mentors who really shaped your journey to becoming Quinnipiac's president?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would tell you that the most pivotal person, I think, was that dean. And the pivotal moment for me was when he asked me to take on administrative obligations, and he said, we're going to pay you this, and and I said, I don't really care about the pay, and I will not do this unless you personally mentor me. And then I had the nerve to say to him, I want you to personally mentor me to potentially have your job someday. And that took some And I told him, I said, I'm not telling you I want your job someday. I just want you to mentor me. I really want you to take mentoring me seriously. And that was a pivotal moment when he said yes, because he really committed to that. I mean, he was the one who nominated me to become dean in that college. So that was a big pivotal moment. And then I would also tell you that I've had other multiple mentors along the way. You know, somebody I knew before I became president here at Quinnipiac was your previous president, your former president, Judy Olean, who gave me great advice. I remember in 2020, I was talking with her, and she said, Marie, you would make a great president somewhere someday, and here's some advice for you. And what she told me was, get more experience across Penn State. And I took her advice. So mentors are incredibly important.
Yeah, especially people paying it forward in situations when they don't necessarily need to. And you really talked about kind of coming to Quinnipiac and this being the perfect institution for you. What really specifically drew you to Quinnipiac, and how does that align with kind of your goals as president?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I wanted an institution that was comprehensive, and Quinnipiac certainly is comprehensive. I also wanted an institution where I would have, you want to go to an institution that has programs that, your discipline aligns with. I'm sitting here in the podcast studio and the School of Communications here at Quinnipiac, so I have that sort of disciplinary home here at this institution, which is great. I also wanted an institution that had a certain kind of ethos and culture. And what I mean by that is I wanted to be at a place where the students were strivers. They're strivers and doers. And eager to be part of a learning and doing community. And that was very apparent to me when the first time I stepped on this campus. I also wanted to be in an institution where the faculty were very much focused on helping students and supporting students, and not so much and you can have this where faculty or staff can become very insular. That is not the case here. So because of all those, and the location, I wanted a place in the Northeast. I wanted to stay in the Northeast, actually, even though I'm from Texas, I wanted to stay in the Northeast. And this is a beautiful setting, and it gets me to other places really quickly that I might want to enjoy. All of those things, Ryan. What else should have been a good reason for me?
So kids who were kind of go-getting in the way that you were in your time, and that kind of inspiring you. And I'm curious that now in all your different leadership positions, what's kind of a leadership lesson, I guess I'll phrase it, that you've learned that you wish more people knew about?
That's a great question. There are a lot of them, but I'm going to give you a leadership lesson that I was just thinking about this morning. And that is, there's a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, who I think was just remarkable. And she talked about how if you really want to do something, focus on that and don't think about yourself. And I think it's easy for all of us, including leaders, we can get hung up on what do people think of us? How are we perceived? And I think that there's value in doing that because you want to ensure that you have a kind of credibility with people. But I think oftentimes we can go beyond that and sort of get in this situation where we're really sort of obsessing over ourselves. And I think great leaders don't do that. And I was just reading that quote from her this morning and thinking about it. Yeah.
So being selfless, thinking outside of your own ego,
yes,
and being a team player.
Exactly.
Building on the leadership question, what advice would you have for students who want to be future leaders, whether in education or any other field?
Yeah. I'm going to share another piece, something that stuck with me very early. So after college, I was a journalist, and I was writing for a magazine called Georgia Trend Magazine. It was a business magazine. And one of the assignments I got was to go out and interview female CEOs. So, Atlanta has a lot of companies. There was a growing number of women leading these companies in Atlanta and across the state. I was asked to go out and do a story on female CEOs. So I did that. And I can remember as I interviewed these female CEOs, I kind of had a light bulb moment. And so this is sort of my advice for students. The light bulb moment was when I had CEO after CEO tell me about their journey. And one of the things they said was, you know, I was in this company and I was asked to go lead this part of the company. And I really didn't know much about that, but I said yes. And I challenged myself to learn a new area. And then after I was successful there, I was asked to do something else and something else. And I said yes when these opportunities came along, even though I wasn't convinced that I had the expertise to do it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to adopt that philosophy. I just graduated from college. And so what I like to encourage students to do is when opportunities come along and you're asked to take on a responsibility or a role or leadership, if somebody has the confidence in you and asks you to do it, don't second guess yourself. If it's something that you think you might enjoy or will be challenging, take it. Say yes. So that's my one piece of advice I give students.
Yeah, to go for any opportunity that comes your way and to learn from other people. And I'm just curious, if your communications background, do you feel like that has really fueled your ability to be a leader and to be president because you have so much experience communicating with other people?
I do think it's helpful. I think that communication is one of the most important skills a president or any leader needs to have, is how to communicate. I think you can be a lousy communicator even if you have a degree in it. But I do think very consciously about it because I think it's so important. Yeah.
And we really dived into your work as president and your background, but I'm curious, outside of your work, what's something you do that kind of brings you balance in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate it. I love to run. I mean, a lot of people know that about me, that I love to run. This morning I was able to get out there, and this is a hilly area.
Yes.
Got to get used to these hills. So so that's always, I know I'm going to have a good day no matter what if I can get a good run in at the beginning of the day. So that's sort of a mind-clearing thing for me, and it gives me great joy. Even if it's a short run, it gives me a great joy.
And you kind of mentioned you being up in the Northeast, being a Northeasterner now in your time. How does that compare to growing up and living in Texas?
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of Texas that I still carry with me, including my accent. You can take the girl out of Texas, but I guess you can't take Texas out of the girl. A lot of people know that I love my hot sauce, so I even carry it in my bag. So those are some Texas things. I would also tell you there's a sort of an informality, I think, about culture in Texas that I think Northeastern culture tends to be a little more formal. And I think I bring kind of an informality with me wherever I go. So, you know, I like to think of myself as, I hope, as sort of adopting the best of both places.
Yeah, like the friendliness of people in Texas, because naturally Northeasterners, we're very closed off. So I think you bring that with you very well, that personability, that friendliness that I think people really gravitate towards you for. And kind of moving onwards, I want to ask you some fun, kind of get to know you questions.
Yeah.
What's something people might not know about you, like a fun fact?
Something that people might not know about me is that I got to tell you, I love candy. A lot of people probably don't know that about me. I love candy. I eat a lot of candy. It's probably not good for
Any
me.
specifics?
That's why I got to run. I love Skittles. I love Nerds. You know those Nerds with the
yeah.
Oh, I love Nerds. I got to pace myself because those things are little sugar bombs. Anyway, so I love candy. That's probably something.
Maybe it's the reason why you have so much energy.
I don't know. I also have to go see the dentist regularly.
Oh, yeah. So it has its trade-offs.
Yes.
And I'm curious, what's one thing you love and one thing you strongly dislike?
I strongly,
in general.
Yeah, in general. I love people who live in the present, because I think when you're around those people, they emanate a kind of joy because they see the good in the present moment, and I think that's wonderful, and that is very inspiring to me. I don't like it. I don't like it when folks feel when folks feel as though they're not in an environment that's supportive for them. That's why I want to work so hard here at Quinnipiac to ensure that everyone feels as though they belong, because when you feel that way, you actually bring a kind of energy, and you lend yourself to an ethos that's good for everybody. When you feel that way, you share that with others. When you don't feel that way, it sort of can create an environment that sort of pulls everybody else down. Yeah.
That's very compelling, because naturally at Quinnipiac, you're trying to create a community that really fosters people, that fosters their talents. And what you said about living in the moment, naturally it's so hard nowadays because we have constant distractions like our phones and all these different things. And there really is something telling about just being present, like you said. And I think that brings so many rewarding things. And to ask you another fun, get to know you, what are some of your favorite movies and why do they resonate with you?
Favorite movies, yes. I love The Godfather. Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. I think it's because, I can recite many lines out of both movies. I'm not crazy about Godfather 3, but who is? Really. So I can recite a lot of the lines out of those movies. I think it's because I grew up, when I was a kid, my parents loved those movies. And so we watched those movies a lot as a kid, and so I kind of grew up with them. But those are a couple of my favorite movies. This is kind of quirky, but I really loved Forrest Gump. It's an oldie but a goodie. I love that one too, just because of at the time it was really clever the way they were, the way they had him dropped into all these historic scenes in that movie. I'm sure it's a movie. Do you even know what Forrest Gump is?
I love Forrest Gump.
You do?
I think it's very, very you. It's very optimistic. It's very uplifting.
Oh, that's great. Well, I will tell you this. I have, obviously because of my background, I have plenty of friends who are filmmakers. And I had a filmmaker ask me one time about my favorite movies, and I told her, and she said, you may not realize this about yourself, but the theme in those movies is triumph of the outsider, and you're attracted to stories about triumph of the outsider. And I thought that's interesting. Yeah, it was a little insight that she gave me on how sometimes the movies and the stories you're attracted to may have themes that resonate with you. Yeah.
And really, it's like being an outsider until you become kind of part of the community, and then you end up leading the community like you've done here at Quinnipiac. So overall, President Hardin, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate it.
And I will just tell you, Ryan, I have thoroughly enjoyed this interview. Love your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And do you have anything you'd want to leave the audience with, like any motivational words or anything you'd want to plug or talk about?
I would just say that I think great days are when, and we all know this, a great day is when you can help and support someone else in small ways or big ways. So let's all make that a goal today. And you have made my day better already.
Oh.
You can check that off, Ryan.
Right back to you, President Hardin. And I always admire the passion and enthusiasm that you bring to Quinnipiac and kind of the way you've led this community. Even though myself now as an alumni, I could still feel how positive the vibes are here, even outside the school, with how much buzz is going on. I'm very excited to see how you continue that on in your time as president, and thank you so much for spending your time here today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And as always, this is Ryan Ziaks for the Zicast, where everyone has a story. Signing off. Thank you so much for listening.